Well, I hesitate to tell you this story about myself, but after 16 years, you know just about everything. So I'm going to tell you what a nerdy kid I was. On my childhood Christmas list, the thing I asked for from the Eaton's Christmas wish book wasn't a Barbie or a G.I. Joe, it was a toy Noah's Ark. It came in a box like this. There was some assembly required. There was a little craft to it, which was, how to put the ark together. I had to glue the sides, and I had to, glue the roof together, and there's a little ramp I forgot to bring out. And then there were, two of everything. And then there were the people. There were the trees, I forgot to bring them out to show you. And then there was the dry land. I did play with it in the office earlier this week, so you can see if you can see a few pictures with the whole darn thing. There's the ramp I was telling you about. Those are monkeys in the trees. Mm-hmm. Swinging monkeys, you had to install those too. That was the play part of it. I really don't remember how I played with it, except I'm pretty sure I never tried to float it in the bathtub. And I'm also pretty sure I never tried to drench it with rain. And I do remember that somehow this story has been in my memory bank for as long as I have memory. And from a truly terrible tribal story, we do get some pretty spectacular symbols. It's truly ticked off with human violence and decides to commit the most violent act of all by drowning almost all of the human community, along with every innocent plant and bird and animal. And a few select pairs are spared for the fresh start. This is not an original story. There are all kinds of flood stories that come out of the ancient Near East. But as our version of the tall tale goes, this God contracts with a 600-year-old farmer to build a freighter. This landlocked guy who has never seen an ocean in his life, he had to have been cute because he sure wasn't qualified. So this God provides a sort of prototype Lego kit, a complete set of instructions detailing the dimensions, specifying the material, delineating the number of pieces of each for this seaworthy craft. And then there were all these symbolic sets of creatures to be rounded up. 7 pairs of this and that. Since 7s and 40s evoke special meaning in ancient culture, we get rain for 40 days and 40 nights, which is to say, for long enough to feel like forever. But like every awful thing, it comes to an end. And this guy has to figure out what to do once everything has dried up, what to do with your messy, smelly cargo and how to air out the ark. So as the story goes, he sends out a dove time and time again, and when it does come back with an olive leaf in its beak, notifying Noah that at least the vegetation has returned to the treetops. Ironically, this dove bearing the olive leaf or the olive branch has become a universally recognized symbol for peace. That which in the story was a sign that the reign of terror was over. The reign of terror precipitated by the tribal god was over. This has become a globally recognized and celebrated symbol of peace. Fortunately, somehow or other, we have managed to salvage the symbol and forget the terrible story from which it came. And then the story gives us the symbol of the rainbow. According to the story, it was the god's way of trying kind of a string on its index finger to remember something. In the story, it was the god's way of reminding itself never to do such an unthinkable thing again. And we've taken the symbol from that story and made it a sign of hope and promise. A sign that things get better. That the future promises to be better than the past. That no storm lasts forever. And the rainbow, the story suggests that this thing of beauty is a reminder not to repeat the mistakes of the past. It was a way for the power figure in the story to remind itself never to commit again such violence, never to precipitate such hostility, never to be such a bully, never to perpetrate such cruelty. It was a resolve on the part of the one with all the power to start over and act differently. The rainbow was a symbol of having gotten it wrong and a resolve to make it right. And the rainbow has been claimed as a symbol for peace flags and a symbol for the international cooperative movement. And in 1978, it was adopted as a symbol of pride for the LGBTQ2S+ community. The colors representing diversity have been displayed again and again as a symbol of affirmation and of acceptance. So in taking that dove with its olive leaf and the rainbow from this story, we have rehabilitated and reinterpreted these symbols from a terrible tribal text. Proof that good symbols can be found even in bad stories and vest it with new meaning. And while we're at it, there's another great symbol in this story to recover and rehabilitate. For me, if I was going to choose a symbol to represent what it means to be safe and caring community, I would vote for the Ark. Maybe it's just the landlocked maritimer in me, but I want to be part of a spiritual community that seeks to build something that floats in a world that can feel like it's drowning. I want to be part of a spiritual community that offers healing for those who are drowning in a sea of despair, or a sea of fear, or a sea of prejudice. I want to be part of a spiritual community that builds something that defies gravity, that holds us up when there is so much around us that would pull us under. Something that floats against all odds. I want to be part of a spiritual community that is committed to creating shelter, to be part of an ark, a safe and caring place that's committed to making survivors of all of us, not just some of us. I want to be part of a spiritual community that offers buoyance, that seeks to share the kind of wisdom that can keep us and our planet afloat. I want to be part of a spiritual community that is committed to turning the world into an ark, not just selecting a few who will float along in segregated safety together, not an exclusive cruise ship, but a barge that's big enough for all of us. And we don't need a divinely dictated Lego set to do it. It only actually takes one tool and we're born with it. One of the best things about our tradition, that which was supposed to be its hallmark, by their love you shall know them. It's actually our birthmark. Everyone who is, or whoever was, or whoever will be, we are born for love. And at the end of life, what really matters is not what we bought, but what we built. Not what we got, but what we shared. Not our competence, but our character. Not our success, but our significance. To live a life that matters is to live a life of love. And to live a life of love is to be about building an ark for every living thing. It's what it's going to take to make it together on a very crowded planet in very stormy times as one Earth community. Because our survival is entirely dependent on us doing it together. Because we are now the God figure of this story. We are the ones who possess the power and the capacity to destroy ourselves and to make every creature extinct. We're the ones who need the rainbow, the string on our finger, to remind us not to repeat the mistakes of the past. We are the ones who need the promise that it can be better than it is. And we have what it takes to make it so. And so we and others circle in communities like this to share and practice our boat building skills, to call ourselves into the birthmark of our humanity, the hallmark of our heritage, to know and be known by the height and depth and breadth of our love. And to help each other pick a little crevice between the stones and make it our own and grow a life here where we can be useful and where our presence our very presence, will build soil. Together where we can grow a greater love for a desperate and drowning world, where some still dream of things getting better, and others despair that it can ever get better. So, fellow architects, this is a time to think about how we're building, how we're doing, who's treading water, and where, in what places in our lives, in what relationships, in what ways we are building an ark, a safe and caring community, not for the selected ones, but for everyone.